Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I'm Tony Gerdeman, here as always with Tom Orr. Tom, how's it going?
Tony, it is time to render some absolute final judgments that will not be changed anytime between now and the season. We might as well just cancel the 2026 season because we're going to tell you exactly what to expect from not only specific players, but also entire position rooms, entire teams. Spoiler alert on this whole show, we're going to tell you everything you need to know about the 2026 Ohio State football season.
Not everything, just one particular position. In fact, just two guys. And this is a listener question from @S Pathfinder. Thoughts on the wide receiver additions via the transfer portal. Did Ohio State get better? And Tom, again, just one position that we're talking about here, just two, and in fact, two players. We were talking about LSU edition Kyle Parker, and we were talking about Texas San Antonio edition Devin McHuan. Two different guys, Tom. And I was watching some Devin McHuan highlights on YouTube, and I'm trying to, who can I compare him to at Ohio State? Because he's 5'11", 6 foot, kind of, a Z, shifty kind of guy, got decent speed. And then I saw somebody mention it maybe on, I don't know if it was Twitter or maybe in the comments of the YouTube video. I'm like, oh, that's it. He's 84% of Johnny Dixon. Like a healthy Johnny Dixon. And not quite as fast, not quite as explosive when Johnny Dixon was you remember I don't think it was maybe a catch against Indiana where he caught it and then he just took off up the middle. And you could see the flashes of that was high school superstar Johnny Dixon after all of the injuries and all of those things. And so it's that one makes sense. And I think there's certainly a place for that. I don't know, what he's going to put up this year. We'll talk about those numbers in later shows and projections and things like that. But, this past year led him with 65 catches, 726 yards, 8 touchdowns. He's been a 3-year starter. Did they get better? You're losing Carnell Tate. This guy is better than Mylan Graham, plays a different position than Quincy Porter. So by this addition alone, yes, they got better. I don't know what that means, what he's going to do this year, but it's better than not having him.
Well, I think better. Yeah. Better than what? Better than Carnell Tate? No, you're not better than Carnell Tate. Carnell Tate was a really, really elite wide receiver, and it would be, I don't know that there was anyone available this offseason that would have made them better than Carnell Tate. That's probably not a reasonable bar. Better than Mylan Graham, as you mentioned. Yeah, I mean, you can certainly make an argument. I don't think they're worse off than they were if you had kept Mylan Graham and not brought in McHuan from UTSA. There's a lot of question there because Mylan Graham, very talented, could do great things at Notre Dame, but really didn't do much in 2 years at Ohio State. And the why behind the fact that he didn't do it at Ohio State, will that why go away and allow, would that have gone away with another, if he had come back for Ohio State, will that go away at Notre Dame? I guess we're all going to find out. And then projecting McHuan, 3-year player at UTSA, very talented. How's that jump going to go from playing in Conference USA, which is not at the top of the pile in terms of non-power leagues in the nation, to going from that to Ohio State? That's a big jump. And there's a lot of projection involved there as well. I feel reasonably confident saying that I don't think they lost any ground there with that trade, if you want to view that as a trade. I think they're probably going to be, you're going to get at least production out of McHuan this year. I think you're going to get, will he be a complete game breaker? I don't know. We'll see. I am struck by the fact that, you mentioned him being 84% of Johnny Dixon. Johnny Dixon felt like he spent a lot of his Ohio State career being 84% of Johnny Dixon because of those injuries. So, if he is just sort of college Johnny Dixon and not high school Johnny Dixon, that's probably, that's probably a pretty good outcome for Ohio State. Because when Johnny Dixon was on the field, man, oh man, Johnny Dixon was a great player. It was just, he's one of those great what ifs in Ohio State football history with, boy, if only he had held up a little better physically, he could have really been something special at Ohio State.
I'm wondering at this point, you're the guy opposite Jeremiah Smith. What does this guy need to have? Does he 45, 50 catches? Like you need to be able to have that kind of production. And I don't know that Mylan Graham is going to go from 6 catches to 50. I don't know that, like, would I love to see the possibility? Sure, because I think he's explosive, and he's more explosive than Devin McHuan. I don't know that we're ever going to see that over the course of 14, 15, 16 games and be put to the kind of use that maybe it can be put to right away with Devin McHuan. And so, yes, I think this is an upgrade there. And when you add in Kyle Parker to it, which is an interesting thing for me because he caught 30 passes last year and averaged 10.5. Yeah, 31 for 330 yards, 4 touchdowns for Kyle Parker last year, playing like 80% of his snaps out of the slot. So, Tom, you've got Ohio State returning their slot receiver who caught 30-some passes and not quite as many yards. This, to me, is interesting because obviously both Brandon Ennis and Kyle Parker can play outside, can play inside, but this could also improve Ohio State's slot receiver position. So then doesn't that also raise up the room?
Yeah, it's an intriguing possibility because, as you said, you can play inside, you can play outside, and Jeremiah Smith can do both of those things. And I think that there's expectation that Chris Henry will contribute in at least some kind of way. And with Jeremiah Smith and Chris Henry playing in the same spot, you could see one of them moving around somewhere. But there's just a lot of flexibility right now, which is what you want going into the spring, where it's not, guys aren't just completely pigeonholed. And so that, I think, is a good start there. And I know Quincy Porter was just sort of lay this out for people. Quincy Porter also plays that X position that Jeremiah Smith and Chris Henry Jr. are both kind of traditional fits there. So you're maybe diversifying things a little bit more. Quincy Porter is another what if. What would Quincy Porter have looked like had he stayed healthy last year? And we'll never know that. And how would that have maybe impacted things if you knew, hey, you've seen it now. It's not projection. It's you've seen it. You've seen him do it, or you've seen him try to do it and he hasn't been able to do it. That would probably have, it feels like the way it happened with Quincy Porter, where he was maybe just kind of coming on and everyone was kind of getting really intrigued, and then he got hurt and then that was it. And then he was gone. And it feels like that was kind of designed to drive everyone a little bit nuts. But bringing in someone like Parker, we always talk about, the coaches can happy talk you about someone. The coaches can tell you, oh yeah, we love, we believe in all these guys. And then, okay, show me what you think. What are you doing in terms of playing these guys? And it felt like Quincy Porter was taking on a little bit of a bigger role, but never really got there because, largely probably because of the injury. Mylan Graham, they showed you what they thought of Mylan Graham last year. They had lots of opportunities and he didn't end up playing. And was that a Brian Hartline thing solely? Was that the whole coaching staff viewed it that way? That's one you'll never get to know. You'll never know for sure. You know what you'll get told, but you never know for sure. Parker coming in because he comes in from LSU, the replacement for Brian Hartline, Cortez Hankton, the new wide receiver coach at Ohio State. He comes in from LSU. That shows you what Cortez Hankton thinks about Kyle Parker. There's not a question that, well, does he really like him? He could go in for the portal for anyone he wants to go into the portal for, and he chose that guy, and it's a guy he's seen, it's a guy he's known, it's a guy he knows what he's getting. This is not you were going to go into the portal, and if all our hopes and dreams come true, no, Cortez Hankton knows what he's getting here because he spent the last couple of years with him. So that, to me, he's, there's a little bit of projection there where he's coming from, obviously a similar conference, but being asked to maybe play a bigger role and maybe a little bit of a different role. So there's some projection there. Just like with McHuan, you've seen more consistency, you've seen more experience, but there's more of a projection because of the jump in competition. Both of these guys feel like I feel like I'm reasonably confident you're getting at least a pretty good wide receiver with the opportunity for it to be substantially better. Parker, as he continues to grow and develop, could be substantially better as just a more experienced guy in a probably better offense that he was playing with at LSU. So, I think both of these guys, I look at and I go, I don't think Ohio State has gone backwards here with either of those guys, which when you consider they lost probably two of the, four biggest freakouts from the fan base were the two wide receivers who left. If you cannot go backwards from that and potentially be, come out ahead there, that to me is, I think that's a win.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And Kyle Parker, a redshirt sophomore, could be around longer. One of the interesting points for me is he started the season opener as a redshirt freshman against USC. So Cortez Hankton saw something right away, that they want to get him in. And of course, he got injured that year, just 3 catches for 55 yards. But it's always interesting when you see somebody like Paris Campbell started as a redshirt freshman for like 5 games, didn't catch anything, but there was something there that the coaches saw that they wanted to get that guy out there. And that was the case for Kyle Parker as well. So there you go. Are they better? Would they be better off with Cardinal Tate? Sure. Who wouldn't be? But that's not something that's just the progression of Ohio State wide receivers. Sometimes your room is not going to be as good as it was the year before. Just depends on who left. Like, I'm guessing Ohio State's wide receiver room in 2027 will not be as good as the wide receiver room in 2026. But there could be some really, really talented guys in that room. They're just going to be young and unproven. And the immense loss of Jeremiah Smith just brings everything down a little bit. But will they still be one of the best wide receiver rooms in America? Quite possibly, quite probably. And that's the case, I guess, this year as well, just based on Jeremiah Smith and the gravity that he has around him. So there you go. Thank you all for tuning in. If you're watching on YouTube, of course, if you've not yet subscribed to the channel, I'd ask you why. But this is just a one-way thing. I guess I could ask you why, and then you could throw it in the comments. But, hit the bell to be notified, subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to BuckeyeHuddle.com. Say hello to us over there. 5-star rating and reviews on all of the audio podcast platforms and all of that good stuff. So that will do it from here. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will talk to you all later.